Hello everybody, welcome back to another video where today I'm going to be showing you a brand new engine type. But when I say engine type, it might be a little confusing. I'm not talking about inline 4s versus boxers and V8s and stuff like that. I'm talking about what's powering them specifically. You may already be hearing it in the background, but I've got 3 of them right here. So number 1, I'd say we've got thruster engines as a type of engine with a cool little camshaft on top, but that's not the point of this. And we have magnet engines. And then we have piston engines. And I was just thinking, what else could we possibly power one of these engines with? And I was looking at the way that I have these pistons moving up and down with these little arms. With the thruster engines, I usually like to use these straight up and down suspension pieces that keep it in line but allow it to move up and down. And with piston engines, the piston themselves are like secured at the top with those hinges. But these are more unique because they have these little arms that are reaching out to them. So I thought, what if it was the arm that was moving the piston up and down? Now, this is not quite a traditional setup, but I thought it could be interesting. So I started work, and this was the first rendition we had. Now, the concept here is that these servos are the ones powering these arms and moving them up and down, being controlled by these distance sensors down here. And then this is the crank that's being offset by the servos. And as you can see, it works pretty darn well. It even has an adjustable throttle, so it doesn't really work that well because we're going up in increments of 0.1 and most of servo's speed is actually down below 0.1. But the throttle does in fact work, and this engine is absurdly quick. And it's quite good. But I had a few issues. 1, it's extremely vibrating. And 2, it didn't make that much power because the servos that are pushing the pistons down themselves were stronger than the ones on the crank. And as you can see, it's quite shaky. So then I made improvements. The first change was to make these servos symmetrical to each other. And it didn't do much other than make it run faster. I think it had something to do with weld groups. And because the arms became lighter, that also made it quite a bit quicker. So very cool. And then we made more improvements. Now, this is the first major improvement to the engine because the servos in the crank were weaker than the servos out here. And I thought, well, why don't we just start the engine in its position without those servos in the crank? So this is a solid crankshaft that is being powered by these 4 servos. Now, I don't know if this one's going to be sturdy. We're just going to anchor it to the ground to be safe. Here we are. So this one also has the flawed throttle, but that's whatever. But as you can see, it is much smoother in terms of the way it runs. The crank's not shaking as much, and this is way stronger because it's firing 1 2 1 2 1 2 instead of 1 3 2 4, which really helps with the smoothness. And on to the next version. Now, it was at this point that I wanted to start testing how fast these engines run. So I made this monstrosity. Is this anchored? It is anchored. Perfect. So Trailmakers is a game that has a physics update rate of around 60 hertz. Now, on 60 hertz, if we were to assume we get 1 rotation in every single physics frame, that would be about 3,600 RPM off the top of my head. But since it's a piston and it has to go up and then down and then repeat that cycle, at the very minimum, it would require at least 2 physics updates. So 1800 is the theoretical limit in my eyes. Now, this engine is absurdly fast. And as you can see, the RPM bounces around a lot. But I think that's because the engine is spinning faster than 1800. And once it does that, the RPM starts to flip on itself because of the update rate of the game itself. So as you can see, the RPM's highest numbers are usually around like 144, and then you get to the negative 155. And I think that's genuinely because it's spinning so quickly. And it also depends on spawn. So if I spawn facing this direction, it might run better. See? Yeah, now we're getting around 160, 170, and it's more consistent. You don't see it stepping into the negatives as much. And it's really confusing. Also, I finally made the throttle more accurate so we can actually spin really slow. And we can speed it up slowly like that. And you may notice that it only goes up to 0.1% throttle. And that's because you get maximum RPM at this throttle control. I don't really know why. I think it's because it was causing the servos to overextend, and then it would rebound, and the weld groups made it sad. But whenever this does have a load on it, it does have a nitrous button, which sets it to 110%. It really only does 100%, but it makes it stronger under a solid load. You may also notice this is the first one to have a flywheel, that little 30-kilogram weight there on the other side of the angle sensor. But this thing's pretty darn cool, and this is about as good as the engine gets. But here, I want you to pay attention to something pretty significant. If you look at the servos bases, hold on, this is a little violent to look at. Seizure warning. But you may see that the servo's bouncing on and off of its like rotational axis point because they're supposed to be centered. And because of the violentness of the engine, it vibrates up and down a lot. And that kind of shaking, I think it helps it spin faster, but I also think it causes that. So my next thing I wanted to do is I wanted to re-support all of these servos with heli engines, because if you look at the crankshaft, it's under the most load, but where the heli engines are, the segments, it is significantly sturdier. So I wanted to achieve that, but on the back here. And it's extremely tight, so this was a very difficult design challenge, and this is where I spent most of the time on the build. And this right here is my solution to said problem. As you can see, each servo has its own heli engine, and I had to do some pretty interesting connections, but I got it fully functioning, and that's a bad spawn. That's better. But, as you can see, the servos don't go up and down nearly as much, and I think there was something weird going on with this version here. I'll just spawn the newest one. And this is the newest version. This has things figured out a bit more. But it just makes it stronger when it's under extreme loads, because the weak point of the engine when you were putting it under tension was the servos shifting off of their bases. And there you go. That is the major flaw of this engine. It happens occasionally. There's not much I can do to fix it. The large hinges just aren't strong enough for these servos, because the new update allows you to set the strength at 200, and it is just detrimental to these engines. Now, you may be wondering, can it drive anything? Yes, it can in fact drive things. I just haven't really messed around with it too much yet, but it is quite strong. Here, I'll demonstrate. As you can see, we have quite a sizable weight on the end of this. Nothing for this bad boy. Something to bear in mind is that with piston engines, their typical top speed is around 600 RPM. Or just normal inline fours that aren't doing any funny business. Also, I know this is an outdated method. This is just a random inline four I spawned out because it's easy to see everything on it. But this engine, as you can see, it's running at around 500 RPM, I'd assume. It varies so much because it's just when the servo pushes down, it changes the speed constantly. But as you can see, it is quite strong. So what I can do is I can kill the throttle, but we still have the nitrous button on. But if I turn that off, boom. Instant torque. It is absurdly strong. Significantly stronger than piston engines. So that's something that's pretty cool about it. And I plan to make some cars, not planes with it, even though it does spin so fast. I don't think making planes with it's a great idea. But here's something to notice. With like a standard piston engine, you may see this thing's like violently spinning around, and it's super crazy. But if I get the same exact engine out and I remove the anchor pin from the bottom of this thing, it is significantly torqueier, and it causes that. So that's why this is dangerous, to say the least, if I wanted to put this on a plane. So on a car, I think it'll work pretty well, but just, oh my gosh. it is quite strong. That's all I really had to show you guys today, but I definitely intend to make a video using this. It'd be pretty cool. Let me know what you guys want to see. Do you want to see like a car? Do you want to see like a... Ooh, good idea. Now, I don't know if I've ever showed this guy off in a video, but he's separate from the rest of the creation, actually, so I can like take my hands off the wheel and all that. As you can see, his feet are controlling some pedals that control the car, and his arms are truly separate from the wheel, and it's direct drive, so his hands are directly powering the steering of it. It actually feels really good. But what if I were to combine this dude sitting in this driver's seat with a rock bouncer and so what I could do is I could combine rock bouncer, crawler, suspension with a dude sitting in the seat with a piston engine car, all being powered by one of these bad boys. That would be like the biggest undertaking I've ever done. But I would be willing to do that project for you guys if that was something you wanted to see. Let me know if you have any ideas for videos. I know I haven't uploaded in a while. I've just been busy. Please give me ideas. It's hard for me to come up with them. This engine thing was just a random stroke of luck, I guess, to even think of this. I'm sure there's other people that have thought of it before me, but I definitely think the new update has improved whatever this could have been in previous updates just because of how much stronger they are. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.